Alright, how's it going, everyone? I am at level 7. Things are going okay. I'm still a little nervous with these extra level ups because I have to do so many sit-ups and push-ups and running. Especially the running. Also, it's just taking forever to do the reading. Like, 22 pages of a book takes me like an hour, which is too long. I know I need to read faster, and the meditation takes time. It's So I'm going to scale things a little differently once I get to level 10. But I still have a boss to beat and all kinds of shit. So, Alright. Focus on what's in front of us. I have no rest day token, so I need to do this today. I'm at level 7. To get to level 8, 17 push-ups, 17 sit-ups, 17 squats, 1.4 miles running, 17 pull-ups, shit ton, 22 pages of e-book, take forever, 50 ounces of water, so 2 more full blues over there, it's still a lot. 8 hours of sleep, 22 minutes of meditation, stretching, no vape or porn, down to level 1 if so, and no over 10% THC cannabis. So I'm just gonna get right into it, start the running. I don't know if I can do the whole 1.4 once, but I'll try my best. And then, then I'll just do the rest of the workouts, probably do 3 sets of the pull-ups, and yeah, that should be good. So try to get this done as fast as possible. And let's get to level 8. And then finish level 8. Get to level 9. Take a rest day or 2. And then bang out level 10. So, sounds like a plan. Got it to where you can see me. Okay. Play the podcast.
For my audience, which tend to be disastrous because people will pay them for it so that they can survive in a world of sufficient abundance where your claim on existence need not be anchored to your doing productive work, and rather it's just enough wealth to go around, and now the question is, what do you want to do with your life? Many people are anticipating a real crisis of meaning, and many of the arguments against things like universal basic income, even if we could afford to spread the wealth around, people say, well, that would be disastrous because people just would become suicidally depressed, not being forced to work in a job they don't like to get to weekends so that they can be relieved and no longer working. How do you think about this? Are you worried about a crisis of meaning? We're all doing fewer things at a natural pace, at a high quality, and had more leisure time. Does that put you in mind to worry about some sort of dystopian revelation at the end of all that?
Well, I think for my audience, which tends to be like college-educated knowledge workers, we already are facing this problem. We already face this problem. I think modern knowledge work, especially in sort of like highly developed countries like the U.S., is a sort of lightweight version of this post-scarcity sort of utopia, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you are, early 20th century working in a factory, or late 19th century working in like a Ebenezer Scrooge counting house or something like this, right? You would look at the jobs today and say, wait a second, you just get full autonomy. You're like on email, and people kind of send you stuff, and you decide what you want to work on, and you're living in an air-conditioned office. Actually, now you're at your house most of the time anyways. There's no board where people are writing, having widgets and computers, no one measuring anything. There's no Winslow Taylor character with a stopwatch trying to see if you're doing things so efficiently. You have hours where you can just sort of disappear. Like these jobs are half the job, a quarter of the job. This is like a miracle, right? And how did we react to that? Because I think it made us uncomfortable. And so pseudo productivity filled that void. And it was, instead of, this is great, we can have some sort of John Kent Galbraith prediction of don't just work 3 hard hours and go to the golf course. We still are days with, I think, the calories of the email going back and forth, we're going to jump back and forth on these meetings. We're not going to actually engage seriously with how we structure our work or how we collaborate, because actually there is a sort of masochistic comfort in just, I'm busy all the time doing this. So I think we've already seen how we react. And in some sense, slow productivity is saying, even right now, before we need an AI tool even further utopia, we could be taking these jobs. This is such a, everyone in the history of the world, including monarchs of the grandest empires, would love to be a marketing assistant, at a mid-level K Street firm in Washington. Like, that is like the ultimate existence. We didn't
going to resemble that because we're just incredibly lucky. But in the case of I'm not talking about some utopian vision of fundamental non-scarcity. In the case of that being realized, people would be free to do whatever they wanted, within the constraints of not screwing up the opportunities for happiness of their neighbors, right? So you'd be free to learn the guitar or play frisbee on the beach, and yet what I'm detecting in the culture is a pervasive anxiety that we're not up to that, right? We're going to confront a generation profoundly unhappy, unfulfilled, and increasingly malevolent people. So you give people that kind of freedom, and they're going to find some horrible way to undermine not only their opportunities, but the opportunities of others. And that seems to be, this is kind of a Calvinistic, religious version of this concern, but I'm always surprised to hear that people are worried that, on some level, getting everything we want and could want is a disaster in the making. You say, intuitively, and I see how that could happen for some people, but many of us have figured out how to be happy just sitting alone in a room, right? Well, that's the essence of meditation is, for instance. Once you figured out how to be happy just looking at the sky, then it's not a mystery how you would be happy in a world where there was such abundance. There's no longer even any cultural judgment that you should be using your time in any other ways to produce more happiness for yourself and those you love, right? So the fact that you're having a picnic with your family on a Monday afternoon, there's no judgment on that. That's just obviously what you should be doing. People predict just psychological disaster in those conditions. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't even know that thinking about time spent working and time spent not working is even the right metric to think about, right? I think it's easier for that, right? I mean, so what humans want in work is they want autonomy, they want a sense of what they're doing is important, and they want freedom from just explicit negative physiological effects, right? I don't want to actually be in a condition that makes me feel literally bad. So a big problem with knowledge work right now is we could have autonomy, but this being overloaded, having too much to do, having the administrative overhead take away every day, constantly falling behind work, this actually creates a highly negative physiological experience of work. Our brains exhaust ourselves, it's nihilistic. So if you get rid of that, yes, I can work on fewer things, but I do those things really well. I have some autonomy in choosing what I'm working on, but I have pride in my craft, and things I do seem to have an impact, right? You can do that 8 hours a day, you do that 10 hours a day. It's not really about the amount of time, but the freedom of that negative physiological effect plus mastery plus autonomy. And we know this from my self-determination theory, makes people happy, right? So it seems so simple, but then sometimes when I come to talk about this, it feels like how the warrior plays. If I'm coming into the cave and I'm like these shadows, which this world is like all the email, all this overload going back and forth, like this is not really what work is, right? Like, this is like a simulacrum of work or something like that. But really what I saw outside, it's like work is I produce these things, and the only thing I produce and it's valuable, and I get better at it, I get rewarded more, and I have some autonomy on this, I don't feel bad all day long. That's what work is, and it's like they don't trust what I'm trying to say. So I almost think it's like simple. It doesn't have to be work has been reduced to almost nothing. I just make work, these knowledge jobs don't have to be. Like factory jobs are painful because it's very unnatural for humans to sit and do the same physical
left.
to be able to
Oh,
do
fuck.
that. And so it doesn't feel like work, so, but because of that, there's no boundary between my work and the rest of my life, so there's no natural stopping point of the day. I'm always reading something that I want to read, and listening to an audiobook or a podcast, and getting information. I'm doing these things for my work, but it's because I was capturing my attention, what I want to pay attention to. Again, 90% of the time. And that bleeds over into my weekends and into nights. So, then I'm forced to look in the mirror at my priorities and decide, you say that spending time with your family is really one of your high priorities, but look at you over there, reading a book or deciding to something by definition of not spending time with your family. And so I feel like I'm living out this utopian vision earlier than most people, where I'm forced to confront, well, what would you do if all of your time was discretionary, right? And how much frisbee would you play, and how much time would you actually spend with your kids? And some of the answers are not necessarily flattering, right? I mean, there's a kind of compulsiveness to even to my pleasant engagement with work, and it can be a work-life balance question that emerges even when the wolf is not at the door and nobody's forcing you to do anything. I'm just wondering what you any general lessons to draw from this, because I do think we have to get this part right. We have to anticipate what success looks like for more and more people more of the time, and figure out how to live meaningful lives when there really is a tremendous amount of freedom to just spend time as we see fit. Because again, that's what winning this game will look like economically for people. And I just detect in the culture a profound skepticism around our succeeding at that.
Well, I mean, I think this gets to one of the core disagreements I have, for example, with the ascendant anti-work movement, right? So I think there's been varied reactions to this commonly felt phenomenon of the last couple decades, that college workers is getting exhausted and burned out. One of the recent reactions is really this anti-productivity or anti-work movement, where really you have this core idea of let's reach back and apply not like postmodern leftist thinking, but much more like early 20th century modernist or Marxist influenced left-wing thinking. And a lot of this was inspired by, for example, Ginny Odell, who trained under a very well-known sort of Italian communist, right? So she was bringing in at a time when sort of postmodern left critiques had become dominant in many parts of our culture. She injected a much more traditional, classical, economic, sort of modernist critique. And so we have this sort of like blast from the early 20th century past in this conversation. But a big core of this movement is saying work itself, the desire to work, this is all constructed. It's a cultural construction. It's part of the superstructure and sort of base superstructure theory to just keep the proletariat exploitable by the owners of capital. There's this sort of like classic, early critical theorist, Frankfurt School style critique that's very popular now. But like work is a construction, and these books have titles like How to Do Nothing, Do Nothing, right? So it's really sort of pushing this idea of like we can just escape this opiate, this constructed culture that work is good, which is all just about late stage capitalism trying to keep us tied to our sort of exploitative position. The big problem with that approach is it sort of denies the fundamental human drive to actually want to produce things and work, right? So I do agree with you. I think a reasonable, authentic engagement with the problem of what's wrong with work, but also then what should work be like, has to start from this place that people do like to do things, right? And that goes back to my sort of watered down utopian vision. It's not necessarily, I think your situation is way more rarefied. This sort of, those Venn diagrams overlap. I mean, I think for a lot of people, the Venn diagrams don't have to overlap like that, but it's just, I have work I do where I'm good at it, I have autonomy, and it's not physiologically negative. And I do it for like a reasonable amount of time during the day, and then I go off and do other things. I know a lot of people like this. I like my work, I'm good at my work. I also really love surfing and mountain biking. And so I go to work an hour early, I get out of work at 4 so I can, also mountain bike for an hour or whatever it is, right? I mean, I think the vision could be something like that. But I think any engagement with this issue does have to take into account, and the anti-work movement doesn't, that work itself is not a construction. And we know this in part because the main proponents of this philosophy work really hard. They're writing books about this at a regular rate. They're trying to get their Substack subscribers up. They've been on the bestseller list. They're promoting the books. And so they clearly feel an intrinsic need to try to produce something that matters in the world. And so I think that does have to be a big part of the engagement. We want to work, and we're going to want to work, but what does that mean, and what should the boundaries be on that, and how do we figure that out? I mean, I agree with you. Those are the big questions. My frustration is we're already there for a big swath of our economy. We could be there. These knowledge jobs, like an age of hybrid, we're here. We have all the pieces in place for like a revolutionary, substantial improvement of work for huge swaths of people. And we have unforced errors. We're refusing to interrogate the realities of the structures of our work, and are just sort of assuming like this is just what work is. Like, yeah, we're supposed to be on email and overloaded, and this is just work. There's such a lack of curiosity in knowledge work in terms of just thinking, how does this work unfold and why does it unfold that way? There's just a lack of curiosity that's, I want to be having the debate you're talking about. And yet we're not there because we're burning ourselves out and we don't need to be.
But I agree with you that people want to work in some ways intrinsically, but what would constitute, they want to do things that are appreciated. That's we value that interaction with other people. But in a condition of perfect abundance, that could take many different forms that are, many of which wouldn't look like traditional work. What I don't think would happen is, I don't think everyone would be content, and I think this is the fear, that everyone is just going to be a full-time consumer, right? And under conditions where there'd be less to consume or of less quality, or it's just all going to be, AI generated content, right? So we're just going to be in some Aldous Huxley dystopia, and people
6,
just
12,
will watch an endless
17.
The queue on Netflix will be endless, and it will be mostly AI generated, and we'll just entertain ourselves to death. But I share your conviction that most people, virtually all people, in anything like a well-adjusted society, would value interacting with others in ways that others appreciate, and just produce things that that are worth paying attention to. And that's everything from throwing a great dinner party to actually doing classic entrepreneurial work where you create the next thing that other people desperately want to buy. But I just think it's more and more we have to envision what real success would look like, and what the ethical and political and economic norms would be that would allow us to spread the wealth around. At the moment, like when you have a conversation about universal basic income, you immediately crash into people's negative assumptions here, which is, well, one, it would be, if you just handed people money, they would just become drug addicts and watch television, and it would just be a disaster. Two, they don't deserve that money, right? Even if they were going to use it profitably in a way that wouldn't embarrass us, there's some violation of core ethics to just hand out money for nothing, right? There's something intrinsically noble about having to work so as to secure your purchase on life. And those two assumptions go uninspected for long enough that we just never even think of what a world will look like when there really is enough wealth to go around, again, in success. But yeah, it's just interesting to consider. I guess we have several uncanny valley problems that await us as we move toward that space.
Right. I'll say my predictions right now, and these vary, but like when I'm thinking ahead, where are we going to be delivered with technological developments, maybe on the decade scale? I'm often considered to be more of an incrementalist on this than a lot of other people, but there's two things I think will happen that are maybe not as drastic as perhaps what you're envisioning. Like with AI, for example, I think we're potentially going to see the large economic transformation. It's less about large sectors of the economy disappearing. Where I really think we're going to see the large transformation is in knowledge work in particular. If right now we're spending 90% of our cognitive cycles either tending to administrative overhead or recovering from tending to administrative overhead, what happens when AI can take the bulk of that off our plates? Now, what the response is going to be, we're going to have a lot of cognitive surplus, right? So we're going to have in the work context a sudden surplus of structured compensated thought. I have a brain that now has extra time and can think about things and try to add value to information. What I think we're going to see is a huge expansion of where we can think of knowledge work, cognition being spread into other parts of people's lives and other parts of just the day-to-day operation of our world, right? That's part of what we're going to do with this cognitive surplus. It's going to invent the notion of like where we apply brain work is going to greatly expand. I mean, for example, like the number of households that are just going to have sort of on demand like human brains that can be involved in like managing the details of the household, or the number of small businesses where there's these things they couldn't even think about before trying to optimize or do or add to their business. There's going to be sort of brain cycles on tap they can tap into. It's this view I have that it's less that artificial intelligence is going to take over or add all this intelligence to all this stuff we do, so much as it's going to unlock a lot of surplus intelligence, which is going to need places to go. And we're going to much prefer the surplus intelligence of a human than trying to get an AI bot just right to sort of manage my whatever's happening at my company. I'd much rather have a human come and do this, and they're going to have extra cycles. So I think that's going to be a change. It's going to vastly expand the variety of economic cognitive activity. The other thing that's going to happen on the near future timeline, I think, and it's going to be helpful for these utopian visions, is we're going to figure out remote work, how to do that right, which is a topic I wrote a lot about for the New Yorker during the pandemic, and we're not doing it right now. But I do think we evolving more competency with having people be physically non-located. As that evolves, it really is, as we solve this problem of scarcity of real estate in a small number of areas, I think that's going to open up a lot of interesting opportunities, because we are going to have lower cost of living in places that people want to live. Just by vastly expanding where like a college-educated knowledge worker might work, and you can self-sort into all sorts of different interesting configurations that are life-affirming or interest-affirming. And it's going to be much cheaper just because we're dealing with the denominator here of the amount of land is just much bigger.
Yeah.
That's going to play a big role too. So I'm much more of a thinker. I'm less on board with the sort of, not super intelligence. I know that's way farther, but this idea of sort of like just vast jobs are going to disappear, industries are going to disappear, and we're going to need UBI. The reconfiguration, I think, is more likely is going to be a vast increase in compensated cognitive activity and a notable decrease in cost of living and ability to self-sort your regional presence into something that affirms things you care about. And those are going to be very meaningful changes, I think, for the knowledge work landscape.
All right, I will take that near-term utopia if we can get it. That sounds like a target worth aiming at. Well, Cal, it's always great to speak with you. Once again, I'll remind people the book is Slow Productivity, and we have not covered all that is of interest in it. There's a fascinating footnote about how Galileo almost died by breathing noxious vapors from a cave that was working to cool the house he was staying in. That fairly blew my mind. I hadn't heard that story, but thank you for your work, Cal. It's really it just offers great perspective on what so many of us are just mindlessly doing. I encourage you to keep going, whether you need to be compensated for this labor or not.
Well, thanks, Sam, and yeah, hopefully in the near future I'll be doing so from some utopian location that's affirming my life values as AI-free cognition is taking care of things, and oh, God knows who else.
We're gonna be watching to see if we can detect when AI is writing your New Yorker articles for you.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll be the moment.
I'm not going to tell you. You have to try to guess. Yeah. Exactly.
I won't send you an email at that moment.
Exactly. I'm not going to answer. All right. Well, Sam, I always appreciate it.
I'm not gonna answer. Laugh my ass off. Oh yeah. Robert Zapolsky. Fucking Christ. I feel like shit.
Welcome to the Making Sense Podcast. This is Sam Harris. Okay, well, I wasn't going to have much of a housekeeping, but just before turning on the mic, I learned that Danny Kahneman has died. What a mensch he was. I didn't know him well. I've really only hung out with him a few times. We did, I think, one blog interview a long time ago, in 2011 or so. It's on my website somewhere. And episode 150 of this podcast is audio from an event we did in New York at the Beacon Theater, which I recall being a lot of fun. Danny was 90 today when he died, so that would have been about 5 years ago, he would have been 85. Just a beautiful mind and really good company. Again, I did not know him well. I have people close to me who were very close to him, and obviously I'm quite sorry for their loss. Life is short, even if you make it to 90. So let's use the time wisely. And that's what I did earlier this week when I spoke with Robert Sapolsky. Robert is another extraordinary scientist. He's the author of several works of nonfiction, including a primate's memoir, Behave, which was really a wonderful book, and most recently, Determined, A Science of Life Without Free Will. In addition to being one of the only scientists who has fully accepted the implications of science as we know it on this topic, Robert is a professor of biology, neurology, and neurological sciences and neurosurgery at Stanford University, and the recipient of a MacArthur Foundation, quote, Genius Grant. Today we dig deep into the topic of free will. We speak about the limits of intuition, the views of Dan Dennett, complexity and emergence, so-called downward causation, abstraction, epigenetics, predictability, fatalism. We discuss the work of Benjamin Libet, or Libet, however that's pronounced. Neither of us knows. The primacy of luck, historical change and attitudes about free will, implications for ethics and criminal justice, the psychological satisfaction of punishing bad people, understanding evil, punishment and reward as tools, whether we have to give up on meritocracy, the consequences of physical beauty, the logic of reasoning, and other topics. As always, on the subject of free will, if at any time you don't like the way you feel thinking about these things, if my conversation with Robert feels like it is literally driving you crazy, by all means, pick another podcast today. I have learned through experience that this topic, really more than any other, is destabilizing for some number of people. Some people appear vulnerable to having the notion of free will undermined in any way. I can't say I understand that, but my inbox proves to me that it's true. So, if you're one of these people, or discover that you are over the course of this conversation, by all means, pull the brakes. And now I bring you Robert Sapolsky. I am here with Robert Sapolsky. Robert, thanks for joining me again.
Well, thanks for having me on.
So we attempted to record a conversation some months ago, and our robot overlords were not kind to us. And schedules being what they are, we have taken this long to get back to it. But so you've had a proper book tour in the meantime, and perhaps talked yourself to death on the topic of free will. I'm going to drag you back to it because people want to hear us converge on that. But
Well, this one's going to be great because actually we've reached the same conclusion.
we're the two people on Earth who agree.
Yes.
Well, I think that there might be something we disagree about here in terms of the how we live with the implications of what we agree about theoretically. So that could be interesting to uncover.
Good.
But I'll remind people the book is Determined: A Science of Life Without Free Will, and it's a great book. It's a very large book, unlike the book I wrote on free will, which is effectively a long essay or a pamphlet. You have written the proper multi-hundred-page book, and parts of it really are laugh out loud funny. It's just
Laugh out loud funny.
You review a lot of
An old
relevant
guy.
neuroscience, or just a lot of neuroscience, which in many cases may or may not be relevant. I think we both agree that it's a pretty simple argument that would put one in doubt of free will, and not put one in doubt of just its existence, but there's even a coherent concept. Let's take it from the top, and perhaps we can start with a definition of free will. What do you think your denying the existence of in your book?
Well, my definition has been giving people apoplexy for these months because it's a very, forget hard compatibilist, it's a very hard-assed stance, which is show me a neuron, show me the brain, show me a person who has just done something, produced a behavior, and show that the exact same thing would have happened if everything about that neuron's history was different. That neuron had just acted free of history.
Right, right. And this is, in the philosophical literature, there's a conception that is often derided as a belief in libertarian free will, the notion that one could have done otherwise. If you just rewound the movie of your life to precisely the frame that you were in a few minutes ago, the idea is that you, the conscious agent, decided to think or feel or do otherwise, you could have. You could change the movie of your life. And there are many people in philosophy who deny that that's the right notion of free will. That's not a type of free will worth having. And it's birthed this whole literature on compatibilism, which I think you and I both feel that compatibilists like Dennett simply change the topic. Do you remember my analogy to Atlantis that I hit Dan with?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this may or may not fully cover it for you, but it sort of does for me. I asked Dan to imagine that we lived in a world where more or less everyone believed in the lost kingdom of Atlantis. And what I see compatibilists like Dan doing is coming along saying, don't worry, Atlantis is real. It just happens to be the island of Sicily. And then they go on to argue that Sicily answers to most of the claims that people have made through the ages about Atlantis. Now, it's just obvious at a glance that this isn't quite true, because much of what people have said about Atlantis is really, quite crazy and incompatible with any history of Sicily. I mean, in particular, they're enamored of the idea that there was an advanced civilization that disappeared underwater, right? So people really are confused. And the notion of libertarian free will, while it is in fact indefensible, as you and I will go on to discuss, it really is what people feel they have most of the time. They feel they have it. They feel they can decide to do other than they did, despite what you said about the deterministic implications of neurons. And they think they could have done otherwise, not due to randomness. That's not what anyone feels is governing their conscious acts of willing. And in addition to that, they want to hold other people accountable for their behavior in a way that it isn't just a matter of, because it's a good way to influence the future behavior of other people, but because they really think people are the ultimate causes of how they behave. So this has ethical implications and legal implications. What has it been like for you to make your case since you published the book? What collisions with people have become predictable, and what arguments do you find the least persuasive, the most frustrating? What is it like to be out there?
The argument that has been most ever present and crazy making is the one just based on intuition. It just feels like it. It just feels like I'm exercising free will when I'm choosing to turn the light switch on. I didn't need to do that. I didn't have to do it. I could have done a cartwheel in front of it instead. And I chose. Are you telling me that's not free will? Just this intuitive sense of over and over seeing people who go through, yes, I understand genes. There's genes. We're made of cells. We're made of atoms. There's a material basis to the universe. Going through all that, but in that moment where I'm making a decision, it is just so palpably me separate of all that brain yuck, that there's a me there who's choosing. And that's great. I fully agree with your book, except that it just doesn't feel like it feels when I'm making a decision. I've found that to be the most sort of reliable people digging in their heels, and I think that when you cut through what
There
Dan
it is.
Dennett is saying, much of the time he is saying it just feels like it. So let's talk about Sicily.
Yeah, he's saying that, and he's also saying,
So let's talk about Sicily. Oh. Oh. Okay. Well, yeah, the last of those push-ups were really hard. As you probably saw, my form probably wasn't as good as at the end there. But I got all the push-ups done, all the sit-ups, easy. The pull-ups were kind of hard, but breaking those into 3 was good again. That was really hard. I feel sick and high at the same time. Ooh. Yeah, I can't believe I ran 1.4 miles without stopping. That is fucking nuts. Like I've said before, running a mile without stopping for me is really hard. So 1.4 isn't is insane. 1.6 for get to level 9. I'll try my best to do that all without stopping. I don't technically have to, but I'm gonna try. I really doubt it. I don't think I can do 1.8 without stopping. 1.6 maybe. I really want to just get to 1.5 without stopping. I know I can get 1.4. If I can get 1.5, that would be fucking sick. I'll just run another 0.1 later. And then another 0.3 later. Or the 1.8. No way I would have done any of this if it wasn't for solo leveling. That's for damn sure. Okay. Reading and meditation. Let's get it over with. My God. Alright, everyone. Need a little rest and recovery. That was... Woo, I'm still dying from that. That workout was intense. On the one good note, after not vaping and doing all this cardio, my breathing is better. I was noticing I was getting a little short of breath randomly, which is kind of part of the reason I wanted to get in shape. It's kind of scary for being 27, so health is improving. Good shit like that. So, I've got a lot of reading to do. Let's get it done. Let's not take forever again. This time. Okay, Spotify wants to just sit there. Alright, up to page, let's you know I've been doing my rest day work. I'm gonna stop posting the little thing to YouTube. It's kind of dumb, but I'm probably gonna delete the last ones as well. I'll just wait to post if I'm using rest day tokens, and you'll see that when I come back, I won't have any. And I'm gonna be telling everyone when I'm gonna be using them and stuff, so shouldn't be any surprises. But yeah, so I'm on page 218 because that's where I'm at. That's including the days of reading the past 2 days. And I need to get to page 244. Last read page is 243 to have read 22 pages. Damn. And I need to finish this and then plus one more bottle. Oh, I'm on page 219. Yeah, whatever. I was right. Alright. Where's the song? Where's that one song I like? What the hell? Yeah, there it is. Why is it on Spotify? Seriously? That's stupid. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Spotify. Fucking dumb. It's not on YouTube, I guess.
Christopher Robin, what exactly is doing nothing?
Well, I'm telling you things, getting along, listening to all the things you can't hear, and not bothering.
You should know.
Sick song. one sec, guys. Alrighty, I'm back. Just texting my friend. Oh yeah, I meant to grab my protein shake. I'm also gonna eat my roommate's taco. I bought it for him and he doesn't seem to be eating it, so. Forced health. Quite the construct. Do I know who that is? Oh, the Pink Panther. Steve Martin. Just manageable difficulty. Interesting. Love this song. I wonder if this band has any new songs. It looks like they do. And it is the most popular of their albums. Maybe I'll check it out. Yeah, that's interesting. Flois is the 1 and 2. That's a nice little theory. Men desire novelty to such an extent that those who are doing well wish for a change as much as those who are doing badly. That is so true. there. Almost there. That's it. Lots of reading. Once I get to level 9, I'll be done with the book. That's cool. Up to level 10, I finished one book. This is kind of badass. I got a lot of shit I want to read. Ah. And just finished that song. Chill. 22-minute meditation. Coming up. Alright, done with our reading. Almost done with this whole book, which is pretty cool. Check. One more bottle of water. This one. Damn. I already drank. Yeah. You get it. Okay. Check. Working on it. Eight hours of sleep. That's a pain in the ass. It's like normal. So after this meditation is everything except sticking to the other agreements and the water and the sleep. So good shit. Let's do the 22 minutes of meditation. Kind of a lot. But whatever. That's how it's gonna be.
Close your eyes.
Whoa!
And take a few deep breaths. Once again, close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths. And become precisely aware of sensations as they arise all on their own. The feeling of breathing, the feeling of tension or heat or pain. Anything you can notice. And for this session, you might resolve not to move a muscle at all, no matter what discomfort arises. See if you can sit perfectly still for 10 minutes. And if this worries you, if you feel any anxiety, just notice that arise. Become interested in that emotion as a play of energy. And then attend carefully to any sensations that appear. your attention is feeling scattered or too imprecise, you might pay attention to the next 3 breaths as closely as possible, and then let your awareness remain open to the full field of experience. in the last minute of the session, follow each breath as it comes and goes. Simply cover this pattern of changing sensation with your awareness. Okay. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you here soon for the next daily meditation.
A pretty good one. Whew. Damn, bro. Might it be level 8? Yeah. And once I finish tomorrow, I will wake up at level 9, which is, in fact, 3 times my previous level. So I am proud of myself for that. Also, those 2 days of rest day tokens, once I reach 9, that would be good. I need to use them to recover for 10, because it's going to be really hard. And, also I need to beat the boss. So I'll need to use those rest day tokens to beat the boss. So, yeah. Level 10. Guys, I have proof on YouTube, every second of it, of me getting to level 10 in solo leveling in real life. Which means I will be 10% of the way to level 100. 1/10 of the way there. Let's go. Alright, let's not get too excited. Let's reward ourselves with that accomplishment once we get there, instead of prematurely. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys are getting into this as much as I am. Leveling up with your own things that you want to improve. You know, what's great about this is you can plug anything into it. You know, from 10 to 20, I can work on sprinting, I can work on swimming, I can work on any skill I want to improve. Just plug it in. Like reading and meditation, this is great. I read this old book and read more and more. So, I'm getting excited. The system's working really well. It's just gonna keep going. And Oliver's right around my level 2. So, you know, it's nice to have an accountability partner in doing this. And, yeah. See you guys tomorrow. Time to chill.